I used to think anniversaries were just rituals. Flowers, dinner, maybe a little something extra if you were lucky. But our fifth one? That was the day I stopped being someone's husband and started becoming someone else entirely. Justine and I had what people called a functional marriage. No public drama, no financial strain. Our baby, Jacob, was barely a year old, and we were both employed. I traveled for work, selling high-end security systems to federal contractors, while Justine worked at a law firm as a paralegal. We were solid on paper. I came back from D.C. a day early, a business trip that had turned sideways into something more dangerous than I cared to explain. Government work like mine, when you dig beneath the suits and smiling handshakes, is loaded with secrets. And one of those secrets, I learned recently, was mine. I pulled into a parking lot across from Mario's, the Italian place we reserved for our anniversary dinner. I lit a cigarette I hadn't touched in 6 months, nerves wrecked. My phone buzzed. A text from the private investigator. She just left Jake Carter's condo. Alone. Wearing a blue dress. Not the one she arrived in. I looked at the attached photo. Justine was smiling, breezy, even radiant. The kind of look I hadn't seen in over a year. The kind of look I now knew was reserved for someone else. Jake Carter, senior partner at her firm. Handsome in that country club criminal kind of way. He had been in her orbit for almost 2 years, but I only started suspecting when her phone habits changed. Less checking in, more silent nights. I didn't want to believe it at first. But after the baby was born, something clicked. The math didn't. DNA confirmed Jacob wasn't mine. Justine never questioned when I suggested a newborn screening panel. She signed the forms like it was nothing. I waited 3 weeks for the results. When I opened the envelope, I sat in my office staring at the test in silence for 30 minutes. And then I called a lawyer. So yeah, I knew what was coming before she even stepped into that restaurant. The affair. The lies. But I needed her to say it, to see if she could. She arrived 10 minutes late. Hair styled, lips tinted with that shade of red she always used to wear for me. That dress, the blue one, danced just above her knees, the neckline plunging in a way that once made me feel like the luckiest man in the room. Now it just felt like an insult. "You look good," I told her. My tone was neutral, controlled. "Thanks," she smiled. "I just got this dress. Do you like it?" "I don't think I've seen it before," I said, even though I had. In a photo. Exiting Jake Carter's building. Dinner was a slow dance of feigned politeness. Small talk, scattered compliments, shared glances that once meant something. I listened as she talked about work, how Jacob was finally sleeping through the night, how she was glad I came home early. But I saw it, the way she didn't meet my eyes for more than a second. The hesitation when she touched my hand. The subtle shame behind every smile. I waited until we finished our entrees. Until the moment between dessert and check, that brief silence that always feels like truth's last chance. "Justine," I said, leaning in slightly, "do you think you're a good liar?" Her fork clinked against her plate. "What?" "I mean, when you lie to someone you love, does it weigh on you at all? Or does it get easier with time?" She went pale. Blinked. "Tom, what are you talking about?" "Jake Carter. That's what I'm talking about." Her lips parted. No sound came out. I watched her throat move as she swallowed hard. "You don't know what you're saying," she whispered. "I know exactly what I'm saying," I said. I pulled a photo from my inside jacket pocket and slid it across the table. "This was taken 2 hours ago." She stared at the picture for a long time, her face unreadable. And then, quietly, "How long have you known?" "A while," I said. "I had to wait until the baby was born. DNA tests confirmed what your guilt wouldn't." A single tear slipped down her cheek. Tom, don't, I said. Not here. Not yet. She looked around. The couple next to us were laughing over wine. To them, we must have looked like another tired marriage sharing a meal. But to me, it was war. And this was just the first strike. Justine didn't say much after the picture. Her silence was a confession, louder than any apology she could have thrown together. We didn't finish dessert. We didn't even make it to the valet. Outside Mario's, I handed her the car keys and said, "Take it. I'll walk." She started to argue, but I cut her off with a look. That night, I wandered the downtown streets alone, letting the cold bite at my face. The rage I expected to feel never came. Just a hollow ache and a numb certainty, like a man watching his house burn down and realizing he no longer cared about the photos inside. The next morning, I packed a bag and left before sunrise. No note. No explanation. She'd know why. Over the next few days, my life turned into a series of calculated moves. My lawyer and I filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. The prenup helped, but the real leverage was the PI report, timestamped photos, text message logs, even audio from one of their hotel rendezvous. The irony was that Jake Carter wasn't even discreet. He was arrogant enough to leave a trail. When I finally sat across from Justine again, it was in a lawyer's office. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her hands trembled slightly when she reached for the water pitcher. I didn't feel pity. Not anymore. "We don't have to make this ugly," she said. "It already is," I replied. "I'm not trying to take you for everything, Tom. No, you already took what mattered." She lowered her gaze. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Are you?" I asked. "Because I think you're sorry you got caught. Not sorry you did it." There was a pause. And then she surprised me. "I loved him," she said quietly. "Or I thought I did. He made me feel seen." I stared at her, this woman I once built a life with. "You were seen. You just stopped looking back." Later that week, I received a call from her mother. She begged me not to make this public. "Think about Jacob," she said. I hung up without answering. The kid wasn't mine. Not legally. Not biologically. Still, he used to fall asleep on my chest. He used to call me Dada. One night, weeks after the papers were filed, I went back to the hotel where it had all gone down. The bar was dimly lit, soft jazz echoing from overhead speakers. I ordered a scotch and sat in the corner booth. The bartender, mid-30s, looked like the kind of guy Justine used to smile at too long. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just tying up a ghost." I left a tip and walked to the elevator. It was almost midnight. The hallway upstairs smelled like air freshener and regrets. I found room 512, their room, according to the PI. I stood there a long moment. Then I slid an envelope under the door. Inside was a single photo, Justine, leaving that room in her blue dress. And below it, a note that simply read, "She wore this for you. She wore it home to me. Just thought you should know." I never looked back. In the end, the house was mine. The savings stayed mostly untouched. Justine moved into an apartment downtown. I heard Jake dumped her 2 months later, something about wanting to keep his options open. As for me, I spent a year figuring out who I was without her. I took up running. Got a dog. Started sleeping again. Sometimes I'd think about Jacob, not in anger, but with a quiet kind of mourning. I lost a son I never really had. But I never blamed him. Funny thing about betrayal. It doesn't break you all at once. It dissolves you slowly, until one day, you look in the mirror and realize the man who believed in forever is gone. And what's left? Someone sharper. Harder. But still standing.